So hello everybody, I'm Rahne. Welcome to Weaponizing Eve for Good. It's good to see so many faces. It's very intimidating. If you can't tell, I'm shaking, so hopefully you guys are as nervous as me. I get this cool little remote, and then they gave me like a microphone with my fancy dress with pockets. So it should be fun. So Weaponizing Eve for Good. So this is kind of like our overview. So don't get intimidated, it's like 10 slides. And I'm an American, so I speak really, really fast, especially when I'm nervous. So if you're ever like, what the heck did you say? Yeah, just be like, what? So that's what we're doing. So the reason I picked this topic is because everybody's kind of heard about Eve in some way, shape, or form in the media, right? You guys have all heard the stories, Black Hand Guiding Social Club, PAW, or something like that, right? The big betrayals, everything like that, right? Can I see a show of hands? You guys have all heard that, right? All right, hands down. Now, who has actually participated or been a victim of one of these things? Anybody? No scam. You scam people? Oh, my God. Okay, so now I'm going to ask the opposite question. How many of you have Eve change your life, but in like a really positive manner? Like you met your best friend, you like traveled the world? Yeah, okay. So I'm going to talk about the latter. Everybody loves talking about the former, the news reports on it, but nobody ever really talks about the latter of all the good things that come out of Eve. So you're going to say, who are you, Rahne? So hi, my name is Rahne. In-game character is Rahne Chocolate or Chocolate Rahne. I own both. Most social media knows me as Rahne, so I'm going to just refer to myself as Rahne. You're going to say, Rahne, what do you do in Eve? So I've been playing Eve for about a decade. Me and my friends joined shortly after BTAC R5. Been streaming Eve since 2015, but really I've been doing a lot of charity events for Eve. So back in 2016, me and some of the folks in the room, so me and Scared Panda actually founded the Eve-a-thon event. 2016, was about 12 streamers, some in the room, and we streamed Eve for 72 hours, raised about $7,000 for a mental health organization. We thought, hey, that's pretty cool, something for Eve players to brag about. We did again in 2017, raised about $30,000 for Able Gamers, right, the charity organization that helps those with disabilities. And so we were like, wow, this is amazing. And so on and so forth. We had multiple charity organizations that we teamed up with, raised funds for, and so on. And I also help others do that as well. So Streamfleet did their own. I joined them in that, as well as like others. I'll talk about them later. You'll see a bunch of slides of like tons of streamers, tons of event organizers doing things. So, and not all of them are related to me. These are just the ones I wanted to talk about as to why I have quote unquote credentials to talk about this topic. But yeah, I've done a lot of stuff within Eve. I kind of don't want to talk about my Eve work because it sounds cool saying, hey, I fly Logi, hey, I do faction warfare, but it doesn't really pertain to this topic. And so here we're going to talk about in-game examples of like Eve actually doing things for good. So this one's really obvious, right? Everybody's heard of Plex for Good, right? CCP raising tons of money, the 1.2 million. Sounds like a lot when you consider it's over a couple decades. CCP has also done things where they give you in-game incentives, right? So this was the mask, I think, for when they raised money to help with COVID, something along those lines. The last charity organization they helped, or the last drive they did, was back in 2023. And it's kind of one of those things where if there's sadly a catastrophic event somewhere in the world and Eve players rally together, we can convince CCP to do a giant organization like this. So this is probably the easiest example. Now there are more. So you have what we would call project discovery. So everybody knows about project discovery in game, hopefully. It's usually really, I would say, like an easy mini game, but what it's trying to do is capitalize on citizen science. So instead of having scientists look through samples and make a determination, they try to teach the average Joe, aka us, to learn and read those samples. And then they can get a lot of data all at once, sorted through, make decisions on it, and actually further help science. My favorite one was really the exoplanet, but we're not solving world hunger with exoplanet stuff, discoveries. But what we did do was actually help with COVID and cancer research. And I believe this actually got like a Webby Award. Like it's not just a mini game within Eve, it's actually furthering science. It's not just me saying it either, there's actual evidence with it too. So that's another in-game example of players doing something within the game that actually furthers and helps the world to be a better place. Now, I'm going to use more in-game examples, but these are truly player-driven. So both Project Discovery and Plex for Good are decisions made by CCP. These are all decisions made by players, right? So we have Sino Vigils, the firework events, so on and so forth. You'll see this big giant red blob That's actually a picture from Dirk Statiel for the Anonymous Memorial. Players really do things in the game that don't impact the game, but affect things so much they break the game. So you'll see on this map, I don't know if you guys use the old map. This is the old map. When you have Sinos lit, it breaks the borders of the game. Now, CCP could go in and edit their game to say, hey, that's kind of unreasonable, we shouldn't allow that, right? Because you really can't see anything else there, right? You're not making decisions based on that. But instead they allow it because players are doing in-game actions that don't really impact the game, but really show who they are as people. And then everybody's seen firework vigils, right? So we love firework vigils, things and so far. So we actually convinced CCP to do Citadel firework launchers because bigger fireworks are better. So, but yeah, so I want to also point out, so I'm an older player. So for those who don't know, Sinos were actually changed at one point. So back in the day, you could put a Sino on any ship you wanted, which was great if you were hunting things. Not so great if you were being hunted. So CCP kind of changed the mechanics around to make Sinos a little bit riskier and a little bit more commitment. And that's fine. I wasn't a fan of the change, but I get it. But they also allowed the Venture to have an industrial Sino. Now you might say, okay, Interceptor, Venture, like, I don't get it. Well, the devs themselves have said, well, we know players do Sino Vigils. We don't want to require players to have been a player for 6 months in order to light a Sino. And so they deliberately made I'll say like a game dev choice to allow for player behavior and allow the continuation of player behavior. So this seems all cool and fancy, but just know the devs actually pay attention to things like that. And I believe that's generally why like CCP allows some of these things. We're gonna go to out-of-game examples. So these are the charity drives. I talked about a lot of them. If you just kind of consolidate the numbers, it's a lot of money. And it's worth noting, so I put Shad there. So Shad's a streamer. Tons of streamers raised money, as well as, I will say, non-streamers. If you just have an alliance or a corp and you want to raise money for something, you're probably included in this, just not the total. So these numbers might seem a little big on their own, but I think together ePlayers has probably raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for charities or drives or other good initiatives that pretty much never see the light of day. And so I knew about Shad. I think I Googled some of these other ones, made sure I found some things deep in my Google Drives. But players really love coming together and raising money for charity. And I'll bring this all up. This has nothing really to do with EVE. So if you look at this, I could be sitting here talking about Final Fantasy or World of Warcraft. The thought is these are all EVE players doing things outside of the game, but we're all united under EVE. And so I always think this is like really important to call out because you see a lot of the other kind of big names. They'd always talk about St. Jude. I feel like St. Jude's really the easy one to call out, but there's more than that. And so EVE players, I will say, unite under this banner of like doing actually good things, right? This isn't like how many people did we murder, Guinness Book of World Records, you know, things like that. This is, like I said, the opposite. We're doing good for the world. We're helping the world. And then there's more. So you'll notice some of these pictures are from last Fanfest. So anybody here going to the charity dinner? Yeah. Charity dinner. Did you guys, what was it? Did you guys do like the MPSI raffle? Anybody do that? All right, if you haven't, I still think there's time, so go definitely do that. And then silent auction. So we just opened, so if you haven't done the silent auction, do that. But these are, again, more examples of players coming together to do things. Right, we have this Fanfest. Fanfest is expensive, and we're still out here helping people. I believe everything within Fanfest goes to the Children's Hospital. I think that's also true this year. Have you guys done your Concord pilot license? Yeah. So that's another example, right? We're just nerds coming together, trying to help the world do good. And so I think this is probably one of my favorite things is like, yeah, we do this event and it's really fun. We get to talk to people, but really we're also kind of bettering the world. We're not just invading a country and drinking all their beer. So you laugh, but it's true, okay? And then I have some statistics. Some people like numbers, so like I think last year players outside of CCP raised about $57,000. So like I'm hoping we hit like maybe 60,000 this year. I'm a number person. I'm also American, sorry, that's US dollars, so sorry to the rest of the world. So then I'm gonna talk about non-charity, right? Because you slap charity on everything, it sounds cool, but people get bored about that. Who cares about charity, right? Some people think it's a scam, et cetera, but there are more examples. So this top picture is for Chappie's birthday. I don't know if you guys know, Chappie was a person with terminal illness. He was like, hey, this is probably my last birthday ever. Let's go out with a bang. So he had this massive event in like a low-sec system. And everybody came out, we blew up some Titans, CCP was there, it was a ton of fun. Thankfully, I still think he's in, I believe it's called remission, but I don't think he's passed. And I think he actually has a hope of survival. But now we actually have a memorial out there for him because of the big event he wanted. He wanted to go out with a bang. And so that's what he did. Excuse me, sorry. I can't get away from the microphone. Okay. So, and then this is a Reddit post. If you guys know me, you know I don't like Reddit, but this was the only evidence I could find. So back in, I think it was either right after the pandemic or right before, CCP flew, it was right before, so CCP flew all their equipment to Vegas. If you know anything about flying with electronics, you have to pass through customs. Customs are not the nicest people in the world. So CCP was standing there like, oh no, Vegas starts tomorrow. We don't have our computers. What do we do? So that meant no streaming, no demos, nothing. And so we found out a player named Commander A's actually somehow knew somebody within the customs. And we're like, bro, like you should do it. You should message them. And he's like, well, I can't really do anything, but I can ask. And so he sent the question. He's like, hey, do you guys have anything from CCP from Iceland? And surprisingly, the next day, it all shows up. And we like to give A's credit because we think he's a god. But the reality is they probably just passed through customs. But that's an example of, right, something completely out of the game, not related to charity, but like players helping each other and impacting the world, right? So Vegas went off without a hitch, I think. I don't remember, it's Vegas. But it was a lot of fun. So that's another example. And then I bring up our good friend Akaroth. So his mother was actually gonna fly out, but she got super sick, so she's staying home. But Akaroth was, again, a friend who's passed. We've done memorials, but a lot of times when these players pass, it's really sudden. And they don't have, I'll say like support in a way that helps their family. And so we'll do GoFundMes. So it's like saying, hey, I knew your spouse, partner, family member, and I was friends with them. Let me give money so that you can help establish their estate or take care of the pets remaining or things of that nature. And so a lot of times these don't get as much publicity as it would a charity, but it really helps those families. And I will say, I don't know how close you guys are to your families. Some people don't realize how big the EVE community is. So if you have a loved one that's passed and then you just look at a GoFundMe and you see hundreds, if not thousands of nerds coming in and saying, hey, I knew them, I'm really sorry for your loss, that's super impactful to a person who is in mourning. And I get it, grieving is never easy, it won't ever be easy, but sometimes realizing that you're a family member or you're like the loved one in your life had an impact on the world means so much. I gotta breathe, okay. But these are a lot of examples, right? So I've been going on and on about what EVE players are doing, and you're like, wow, Rahne, this is all Googleable, because everybody has Google, right? We all got TikTok on our phones or something. So now I'm gonna go to what can you do? So, right, so you're a player, you're like, this is super cool, how can I get involved? So there are a lot of things you can do. So this is gonna be from the perspective of you as an individual, you helping, you actually running your own event. So this is Amy Omiya. So she's actually here streaming, but I Googled EVE Online Charity. Her name comes up, right? She hosted a big charity event. And then same with Skip the Pickle. And then also we have Able Gamers, who I mentioned before. But these are various ways that you as a player can go in and help and participate. Now, you may not be able to do it right now today, unless you're out there buying your pilot's license, donating to the silent auction, et cetera. But think about this in the future. If you're like, hey, I kind of see this event, what can I do? Now, a lot of times you gotta pick something you care about. My favorite thing is always telling people either gaming charities or children and animals, because if you say donate to an animal shelter, everybody loves animals. You can't tell me I'm wrong, because I've seen all those cat pictures on the Discord. So, so do not tell me people don't care about animals. But picking at something you care about or supporting something you care about. So let's say you like, I don't know, you hate cats or something. Don't pick that charity. But let's say you love like helping people with cancer. Then find those charities, find those organizations, and find those players already doing something. The second thing to do is to gamify it or to support the gamification of it. My favorite thing is always, like, if you have kill mails, you're like, oh, I'm gonna drop a Titan, is you say, top damage gets an in-game prize or something like that. Because that way it incentivizes everybody to shoot you, so therefore you can't hold your Titan for 30 minutes, which is really annoying. But that's a way to gamify it, right? Or you say, oh, top donator gets a prize, a handwritten letter, things of that nature. There's a ton of things you can do. You can even do it within your own alliance and corp. You can say, hey, person with the most kill mails on this big fleet battle, you know, I don't know, gets Plex or something along those lines. And so that's really the way to do it. is gamifying things. Everybody loves games, and if you tell me I'm wrong, I've seen you all doing those raffles, especially when you win the raffle and you're like, nah, don't give it to me, give it to someone else. The point is winning or getting top leaderboard of gamification. All right, and this is more. I put free content, but I also put follow terms of service because CCP will nab you. Please don't break the rules. Oh yeah, I forgot the feet pics. That's gamification. You think I'm joking? I was streaming for like 4 hours. I said, hey, if we get like $100, I'll post feet pics. None of those feet are mine. Everybody else joined in with the feet pics. So, and we raised $500. So it's one of those things, like it seems really silly, but people do it. I think shaving the head is another one. I haven't convinced my work to let me shave my head yet, but someday I'll get there. But there's a lot of in-game things people don't want. Skins, cosmetics, Plex if you're just a Plex hoarder, things of that nature, where you can just like, hey, let's do a giveaway or something along those lines. And this doesn't have to be on a stream. It doesn't have to be for a charity. You can literally do it for anything. Like, person who gets top kills of the month or whatever in my corp gets something, right? So you can use this in any way you want, hopefully for good. That's the goal. And then you can do like non-in-game stuff. So if you ever buy from some place like Humble Bundle, they give you like 100 skin or 100 game codes. I'm still giving game codes away from like 3 years ago. So that's another thing you can do. You can say, oh, you're not an Eve player, or you don't care about Eve cosmetics. Let me just give you like these game codes, and they can either keep it or pass it along as well. So those are some pretty easy examples. I think I talked about the real life, like the feet pics. I don't know why people like feet pics. It's, I guess, the common thing, more common than we thought. Nobody wants to admit to it, right? The auctions, everybody loves bidding on auctions. I think like that's another gamification. Like instead of just buying a picture, it's like, oh, let's bid, right? Get the top donations. And then the last thing is publicity, right? So if you want your whatever cause you're going for or whatever you're doing, advertise it. That can be something as simple as like, I don't know, do the thing where you post in local every system you jump, or post it on Reddit, post it on social media, use hashtags. I would say rip tweet fleet because Twitter's no longer around, it's only X now. But you can also do the community team, right? Like the community team, so I think it's, I'm gonna get this wrong, but it's like community@ccpgames.com or community@eveonline.com. And say, hey, I'm doing this thing. And they'll put it in the community beat. The community beat's really good. You guys read it, right? Everybody reads the community beat? Okay, not as many hands. You guys don't read? Oh my gosh. I'm kidding. But that's something else you can do, right? Like, hey, we're doing this thing, or we're doing this event, or we're shooting some people. Come join us. And hopefully it works. But the community really, really likes the support. So like streamers, I feel like really connected to the streamers as a streamer. So always asking streamers, hey, can you help me with this? Or hey, can you advertise this? Or even just getting word around in your Discords. You can do that. Just be really careful. Don't click suspicious Discord links. The last point is get CCP involved. That kind of is implied with the community beat piece, but CCP will gladly show up and do things. If you say, hey, can you send a couple devs to either like show up to this event in game, or to like show up to this stream, or to like, I don't know, pass the donation link around the office, they will gladly do it. And CCP is really, really supportive. I talked about that, I'll say like 5 slides back, about how CCP makes game design decisions based on player behavior. So why would they not support community-driven things? But yeah, I'll say any advertisements, probably good. And this is where if you're not an organizer, but you see something, talk about it. If you're like, hey, I don't really do anything with this, but like maybe I mention it on my show, or I talked about it to my friends, or I mention it in a fleet, that's where you can help. A little goes a long way. So if everybody did that, we'd like get the word out really, really well. And then this is the question slide. So who has the first question? Nobody? You guys have no questions. Sorry, the light's on. None of you have questions? Oh my gosh, wow, Rahne, you're so good at your presentation. Yeah, thank you. You guys, okay, so normally questions I get are like how to get started, right? This is all really overwhelming. And when you look at things, you're like, I have no idea what to do. Start small. It's super simple to start small. Like, hey guys, I want you to do this thing, help me out. My friend needs help. I do that sometimes. I get a GoFundMe link and I'm like, yeah, you're my friend, I'll just post it. And I post on my Discord with like 10 people, and we all hang out and talk about it and help them, right? Start small and take it size by size. Like, you don't gotta be doing these like massive charity things or anything like that, or just throwing these like 3,000 low sec battles on accident and you drop your Titan or something. I mean, unless you want to. That can be kind of accidental. But start small and like slowly work up. Yes.
I mean, I had an idea the other day of doing an Eve desert bus where you're
An Eve desert bus?
yeah,
Is that what it's called? Okay, so you had an idea the other day of doing an Eve desert bus where nobody's allowed to warp.
yeah.
What would you do?
Desert bus.
No.
It's like a charity fundraising thing where they play a game called Desert Bus where you literally like drive for hours across the desert in a straight line.
Okay, do you want the microphone?
Yeah, because there's a charity fundraiser where they play a game called Desert Bus, where you drive for like hours across the desert in a straight line, and I thought you could do that in Eve and see how long you survive.
You could. Yeah, that's kind of like, I don't know, that's what the Alliance tournament is, right? You warp to a beacon and you can't warp off. You could definitely do that.
Slow fly.
Slow fly?
Yeah.
You can't zoomies?
No warp. No warp. Oh, no, with a
Yeah.
booster, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Maybe,
all right.
yeah.
But no, that would be good, right? Like, you have this event, throw it, like, you're like, hey, guys, join me. You start out small. If it works, you're like, great, let's add hundreds of people. All right. Any other questions? Comments? Concerns? Yeah.
So, let's say you're trying to plan a charity event.
Yeah.
How do you go about microphone? Nice. So how do you go about getting the money to wherever it is you're trying to get it? So
Super good question. Okay, so there's a lot of times I always recommend donating directly to the charity. So if you like do American Heart Association, right? They'll have a donate link. Now you're gonna say, okay, how do I understand how many other people are donating? So there are valid websites. My favorite's Tiltify. They take like a really small percentage, like 3%, but then the rest goes there and you can track. It's really built for streamers and YouTubers, but you don't have to do any of that to start a campaign. And so if whatever charity drive you're doing doesn't have like their own like, hey, start a team, because I think American Heart Association, you can start a team. But if they don't have that, then definitely use a website like Tiltify. I know Twitch charity is what I use, and that's just like on my page. But again, it's hard to track. Only I can see that. So I would recommend a Tiltify for sure.
got it. So these are basically just accounts where the money comes from whoever is donating,
Yes.
and then you then forward that to the
Yeah.
charity.
The good way to always know if it's legitimate is like if you get like a tax return. If they say, hey, do you want your taxes? And you're like, yes. That's kind of how you know. And Tiltify does that. I believe PayPal charity does that. I think Twitch charity does that as well, but I'm not 100%. But they should, because Twitch links to PayPal, which links to the charity itself. So, yeah. I've run into a lot of like those scam weird websites. It's not fun, but that's a good question.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. You had a question?
I had a comment to the going around.
Oh, yeah.
If you start flying with a few guys, and then you start posting that we are going around and doing things. And if you are in a stream, then you, at some point in a gate, you will find a Proteus with smart bombs that will annihilate the whole.
They'll come and smart bomb you?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's part of the fun, right?
I mean, I have some friends who did it sometimes, and we had a stream. We started with small stuff. We went up to a certain place, and then one guy posted his implants, and then he died the next moment.
Yeah.
So we have to take care of that aspect also.
And
as a small comment.
no, that's a good point too. And I think it's worth calling out that not all players will do good things the same way. So I talk about a lot like Sino Vigils, and then they sorry, it's habit. But like, so Sino Vigils, right? Everybody's like, oh, you show up, you shoot fireworks, light a Sino. Some people don't celebrate, don't grieve in that way, right? They will grieve in different ways. They prefer to let out their frustrations by shooting others. And I think that's okay, right? So sometimes players will do the thing where they'll show up to a Sino Vigil, they'll launch bombs, and then they kind of like wait for everybody else to shoot them or something along those lines. And that, I think, is understanding and being compassionate to your fellow player for events like that. So if you say, hey, we're doing a charity event, I'm gonna go on a roam, and you get ganked, that's other people's way of like showing up and supporting. Now granted, you can assume the worst, but I don't like to do that of people. I think it's good to like say, hey, oh, they came to support us, right? Like now I have this fancy kill mail. People are gonna ask me about it. And so that's what generally will happen too. But yeah, that's something to keep in mind if you're like really don't want, if you only want like a set thing to kind of keep in mind, it's a sandbox and how to prevent that. Comments, questions? Okay. I have my contact information here. So if you have a comment or you don't like talking on front of a stage, because I believe this is recorded. Hello, YouTube. So
It is.
it is okay. So yeah. So if you don't want to ask it in front of an audience, that's okay. I'll be here after, and then I'm also like, you can just find my socials. So any other comments? You guys are maybe ready? Everybody clap. Please clap.